Hi. My name is Medi, and I'm going to give you my story. I was born in Parsons, Kansas, and my mom and dad had 7 kids. I was one of them, of course, and I've lived a pretty rough life. My mother, getting to the few closest to where I was to really get talking, my mother was very abusive. She was abusive mentally and physically. I was in the middle of the 7 kids. And I had an older sister, and she thought I needed to look after her. And I got in a lot of trouble different times because I wasn't there. I wasn't there for her. I wasn't there to take care of her. I wasn't there to make sure she got home. So, we lived in Parsons, Kansas for quite a few years. I landed here in state of Oklahoma. I thought it was when I was 21, but it was actually when I was about 23 years old. I had already had 2 children out of wedlock, who I love very much. Amen. I met my husband in Medewan, Oklahoma, and I had 2 little girls by him. I didn't know God. Mama used to have the Jehovah's Witnesses come over and talk to us. I don't know if it was because she wanted us to know God, or because it was just to keep us out of her hands, you know, where we were doing something instead of beating each other up. I don't know what the reason was. But I knew by then that there was a God. I knew that there was a place called paradise, and that we were supposed to all come here to live in paradise, but there was only a certain amount that was going to go to heaven. Okay, I don't know how many that was, but at that point in time, I really didn't care. So, I'm going to say Tammy was probably 4 years old, and Deborah was in diapers, so she was probably about 2 years old. But the reason why I remember when I started going to church is because Deborah's diapers fell down as she was going up to the altar, and they were singing this song, "Drop Your Pennies In." So I really became interested at that point in time, and I had met this friend, another woman, a Jehovah's Witness woman, and I had gone there for a while with her. And then somebody told me, another friend of mine had told me about her church and how the Spirit moved there. And I told my friend Vicki, a Jehovah's Witness woman, I was going to go to this church, and she said, you shouldn't. And I said, why? She said, there's witches there. I said, oh my goodness, well, I've got to go, got to find out. So I went, and I went to the altar, and I was praying this and got into my heart, and I heard this woman crying. I turned around, and she had her hand close to me, and I thought, well, she's praying for me. She's crying out for me. And I thought, why? Why would this woman do that? I didn't understand it. Because I had never had that happen to me. Anybody care like that? I remember, like I said, I had gotten married to Becky, and he was an alcoholic. It turned out he was not just an alcoholic. He was a person that was adulterous. And he had gotten with this woman, and that he worked with. And he decided that that's the life he wanted was with her, you know. And so when I came home one evening, I was told to pack my bags and get out that night. So I did. That was pretty rough. At one point I went back down there to get some of my stuff, and I don't know what was said, I really don't, but I ended up getting through against the floor, and the floor was cement. I had a big old knock on my head. But it didn't start there, it started before that. I experienced many physical abuse. He tried to choke me. He tried to kill me. He tried to shoot me. I mean, and I still loved him. But I didn't love myself. You have to love yourself also. And I didn't. I guess maybe it was because of abuse. I got home the way I felt. I was always looking for the love in all the wrong places. So then I moved up here to Coweta. That's where I started in Stillwell, and I met another man. My normal. What I call my normal is where I was always meeting up with the abuser and adulteress. So again, I was with this guy, and in Coweta, and I talked him into moving up here because I knew that I could not make a decent living for my children, and my ex-husband was only giving me $100 a month, and then what my wages was, so I wanted to move up this way where I could get better wages to raise my kids. So I did that, and like I said, with him, and then he decided he was going to mess around on me, and he was drunk. Not as bad, but he was. And so I said, well, now, mind you, I have already been saved and everything. I understand that, but even if you're saved, you're not right. You cannot be right before the Lord. And at that point in time, I was just broken. I said, I just don't care. So I just pretty much did my own thing. And whenever I found out that he was with this other lady, I decided, well, if he can do it, I can do it. I just went out one night, found me a guy, and just had some fun. And Jimmy came in the back door, and he caught me, and I knew I was going to pay for it. And I took off the back door, and I ran. The guy lived right behind downtown Coweta, right behind the police station, and I was able to get around there. And he took his truck and put it right here, in between me and the door. And I heard this voice and told me to drop like a sack of potatoes. He could not get me out in that truck. And that was the only thing that saved me. A couple months later, they found him. They caught him. I'd seen him on TV. And he was gasping for air. And they went ahead and took me in and put him back. And I got a letter from him. And he told me, he said, if I could have gotten you, I would have killed you. And I knew it was true. I knew. If I didn't know any other time, I knew it was there. I knew what his past was. I refused to believe. I believed what I thought was true about Jimmy. So I had gotten hurt on the job. My knees were a mess. I had had a couple of knee surgeries, and they had done the best they could with my knees. But I couldn't, I would walk a while, and I would just get to the point where I couldn't walk no more. My knees wouldn't do. I'd laugh at myself because my knees was not working. And I had this guy come into the bar because I had kept working at the bar. It was, oh goodness. I can't even think of that. It was,
North 40 or?
Yeah, South 40.
South 40.
And I had a friend that was an alcoholic, a woman. Loved her very much. She worked there, and her mother was a boss there, and I got a job there. In fact, one of the guys I ended up meeting now at the bar for a minute, I looked at him and laughed at him, and I said, I don't think I want to own this bar. I'm just working here for a short time. But anyway, my future husband, Jack, I'm going too far forward, so I'll step back. This gentleman came in, and he was sitting at a table towards the back, and I went up to him to ask him what kind of beer he wanted, and he told me, he looked at me and he said, what are you doing here? I said, well, I'm working. He said, but you know you don't belong here. And I just went out and got my beer and gave it to him. I guess he walked. I never did see him walk out, but he did. Didn't know who he was until later. I thought he was an angel. And I would start going with this guy that was coming in there, was another future husband, my normal, pretty much. And I told him, I said, pull in there when I seen the church out here on the Highway 51. I said, I'm going home. I pulled in there and introduced myself. And I'm not saying that I've been here every time the door was open, but no matter what, this has been my church. And at first, my kids were coming in here, and they're going to be here one of these days. They're going to be back one of these days. I know they are, because I've raised them to know God. Even when I was out there in the world, they knew God. I wanted them to. And I know that they each and every one of them got a ministry. And I look forward to that. I had gotten with my last husband before David, and he didn't hurt me, I mean physically, but he hurt me mentally. Although when I called him once with a woman, I did rip his shirt off his body. I just took him, he was there and she was there, and I took his shirt and went, and he laughed about it. He thought it was funny. But oh dear, he was sexually abusive with me, and I would call. I couldn't tell nobody. That was his mom. And he was, he got, I was working, he got her on a job, and he got this, quite a bit of money. In fact, he had so much money coming in, besides his Social Security. The state of Oklahoma was paying him because he had gotten hurt more than once in the state of Oklahoma. So he did have a really good income coming in. I didn't marry him for that. But anyhow, when he got his settlement, he had bought a lot in the trailer court part, close to his family, his wife. Or not his wife, but his daughter-in-law and son, and all the kids was there. But anyway, I really didn't want to go that route, because I knew his family. I knew that, but that's my husband. That was his idea. That was what he wanted, so that's what was done. Again, it's all about him. He did make sure. I think maybe it was because he felt guilty, and it was somehow supposed to make up for how he treated me. He did make sure I had good transportation. Every other year, he thought we had to have a new car. He did. He just put himself deeper in debt. It got to the point, I was with him for, it was like close to 20 years, and it got to the point where, I was working every day. He told me, he said, regardless, you're gonna work. You're gonna work for yours. So I did. I didn't mind. Didn't want to be there. Didn't want to be at home. Why would I? So I worked. I loved to work. And so I worked, and it got to a point where I didn't want to go home. So I didn't go bar. I would sit outside my job for a while just to get myself brave enough to go home. Or I would go close to where we live, like at a quick convenience store, and sit in the parking lot. I get to the point where I could go. And I didn't want to involve my family, so I would go. and had a gate around the trailer. And he started hitting the car. He opened the gate. He was telling me, why are you taking so long? Get that car up in there. Get that car up there. Hurry. I'm sorry, it's hard. So I get in the house. And he always had me away and paid for me. That was something I didn't have to do because he was a big cook. And he took care of me on that respect. He loved me, he just didn't know how to do it the right way. And that makes sense because he was broken. It saddens me that he was broken. I go in and there were times where I couldn't eat because he would be across the table, just yelling at me. But he was a drug. He was mentally abused. Like I said, he was just like he is. No excusing him, just say he was. I think in a sense we're all broken one way or another. And so a lot of times we got to the point where he would sleep in the back bedroom or in a chair, but never with me. Never with me. I mean, we did it once, I guess, but after we got to that point, it was time not to do that. And I would feel some safety in my own bedroom. I mean, he would come in and try to tuck me in and say goodnight to me, and I told him I just didn't feel like it. It felt good being able to lay there and watch TV, and I had to deal with him, you know. And so, Eunice, or not Eunice, but anyway, we get another one. Okay, so I finally got to the point where I said, I don't want to be here. I gotta hope my bigger sis know this. And I told her I wanted to come live with her for a while, and she said that was fine. And I didn't tell him how long I was gonna stay or anything, just that I wanted to go visit my big sis. And he had money, like I said, so he gave me the money. I'm gonna get my water. So. He gave me the money to go. And I saved the set for quite a while. I just needed that time to, I went to church up there and we prayed, we read the Bible, and we just had time together. I needed to get stronger. I needed to be okay. So I did that for quite a while. And I had gone to, when I left there, I was drawing food stamps, and I had a check coming in, and I just felt like God's gonna take care of me. So I told her, I said, sis, I need you to take me to DHS because I'm not gonna be working. This is what I've got, and see if I get signed up on a check and food stamps. Well, she took me up there, and so I went up to the desk and I said, I want to sign up for food stamp, and I want a check. I need some income because I don't have any. And you know what? They gave it to me. I mean, it's like they took me back there, and I could not sit there without crying. They seen how broken I was. I guess, I don't know. The state of Washington gave me a Social Security disability check because I was crazy. They sent me to a psychiatrist, and he asked me to count back to 10. So I started counting back, and brought down crying before I could get to 1. And then he asked me, he said, could you tell me who their president is? And I thought about it a minute, and I said, well, you know what, I believe, and I know that President Trump is going to be in office. And I said, I call him Trumpet. He said, why do you call this man Trumpet? I said, well, that's a nice story, let me tell you. Because I never vote because I'm not into politics. I'm not that smart. And if I don't know you, I don't want to vote for you because I don't know if you're going to be a good president or not. And so I asked God who was going to be president, and he told me, because before I left to come that way, I asked God about it, and a real sweet girl, a friend of mine where I worked at Uptown, asked me, she said, have you ever played a flute? Or no, what was it? A trumpet, a trump. And a trumpet, and I said, no. Why? And I just kind of smiled at her, and she said, Mitty, you know where the children play, in that little play area? I said, God told me that the next president was going to be Trump. And when you told me trumpet, I called Trump trumpet because I thought he was going to be the one that blew the trumpet. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and give you, because I got to thinking about things, I got to thinking about God, and I know another thing I want to say is when I started going to church here, my knees, like I said, was hurt. And I asked God to heal my knees because I knew He could. And every morning I was down there for about 3 or 4 times. I was down there at the church saying, Sister Terry, would you pray for my knees? Because I'm still believing that God's going to heal my knees. After that, I got my job, and quite a ways after that, because I told God that if He healed my knees, that He could use me, and I would spread this word. And you know what? He did. And you know what? My light started working. You know what? I was going up and down them stairs at the apartments, at Kawita apartments, and Garden Walk apartments. And I was telling people about God. And you know what? He used me to lay hands on people. And you know what? People got saved and they got healed.
Amen.
And it was wonderful. Golly, there was this one little lady, and I was here at church, not here, but up there. And this woman that came in, and she had told Sister Terry that she knew this girl that was without clothes, that her trailer had burnt to the ground, and she needed clothes. So I prayed and I asked God, I said, Lord, what size clothes did this woman wear? I didn't even know where she lived. And I can't remember if I found out through her, but I remember driving around. I remember this big old car that this particular woman had was like a big old huge Cadillac. And I went around Kawita trying to find her so I could find out where that girl was, where she was at, so I could deliver her clothes. And when I found out where she was, she told me where this gal was, and she lived at Kawita Apartments. And I had a box of clothes, and I brought them to her. I knocked on the door, and she opened. I said, do you wear size, and I believe it was 18. And she said, yes. I said, God gave you these clothes. God had used me many ways. And yeah, I believe that God heals. I think that, I don't know about you all, but I think that sometimes we're getting patient with God. Wait for what we want, but we need to keep in mind that, you know what, God wants the desires of our heart. That's so important to know, that God, that huge God, and He is huge, He is so sweet and so lovable. He wants a desire from our heart. And we're like little kids, I want it now. And we need to just be patient, to wait on God. Oh, yes. Okay, so my sermon is about being beautifully broken, because that's how it becomes. I love people. I didn't used to. And everybody is worth saving. I don't care if you're some killer or who you are or where you came from. God doesn't want no one to perish, but to have everlasting life. And that's really important. And it's important that we reach every soul that we can to touch lives. That's what we're made to do. You know, I'm just going to start reading here and talk on the way. So, the Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and such as to be of a tried spirit. Well, I had to think, well, you know, I mean, I have problems with words, so I want to know what triad meant. What is that word, God? But I just continue to read. Isaiah 57:15, he said, "For thus said the high and lofty one that inhabits eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in high and holy place with him, and also that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to receive the spirit of the humble of a contrite one." I mean, he really takes care of us. He draws to us like no other. I'm losing my voice. I'm sorry. Just ain't that awesome?
Yes.
Oh. He heals us. He says in Psalms 147:3, he says he heals the broken in heart and binds up their wounds. You know? That's enough to be praising God for. If you're all broken. I think somebody was coming, confused or whatever. In Psalms 17:18, he said, "The righteous cry, and the Lord rears and delivers them out of all their trouble," all of it. If we just let him do it, if we just get out of the way of ourselves. And even though we're adults, even though we're growing up, he wants us to be a child. If we are children of his, he expects us, he wants us, if we just draw to him, just let him do it, and just be okay with that. Don't be worried about the cares of the world. He didn't make us do that, to be worried about the cares of God. My husband always said, just don't worry about stuff. Just let God. That is all God wants us or expects us to do. Humble. We are humble people. The ones that have been broken are very humble. What does humble mean is not proud. They don't believe that they are better than anyone else, because we all are made from the same Creator, the loving God. They're very grateful, and they're always thanking people, because people are a blessing. What would this world be without one another? Can you imagine? And I got to thinking about Galatians 5:22. Wow, girls. When you're broken like that, God gives you the fruits of the Spirit. You know? And that's what we're supposed to live by, is the fruits of the Spirit. It ain't just for our kids, they're for us too. They're love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faithful, meekness, temperance. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm working on it. The word temperance, I can't say that. I'm going to apologize. I've got a speech impairment problem. But it's not the practice of, it's the practice of always controlling your actions, thoughts, or feelings. And I've been working on that. I really have. Especially with my husband, you know. And it works out. It really does. You know, just watch over your tongue, you know. I mean, the Word of God talks about the tongue being undefiled with and it gives you the demonstration of the whores. You know, I just keep your eyes on the Lord. That's all I can say. Keep your eyes on the Lord and always be like a child. Because that's what we are. And he wants the desires of our heart. And you know what? He's going to give it to us. And we're just patient and wait on him. And just, yeah. Amen. That's all I have to say.